Welcome to 2023 and another year of Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, we talk renewable fuels with Anne Steckel, Senior Advisor from the National Farmers Union. We'll also have features from the Kansas Soybean Commission, Kansas Department of Agriculture, and Kansas Grain Sorghum, along with a weekly update from the Kansas Livestock Association and market information from Pinion. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, kfb.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat, online at kswheat.com. In agriculture information, the EPA and the Army Corps of Engineers announced a final rule establishing waters of the U.S. They say the rule reduces uncertainty from consistently changing regulatory definitions. It protects people's health and supports economic opportunity. The final rule, they say, restores essential water protections that were in place before 2015 under the Clean Water Act for traditional navigable waters and territorial seas, as well as upstream water resources and interstate waters. Following extensive stakeholder engagement, EPA says it delivered a durable definition of WOTUS that safeguards the nation's water, strengthens economic opportunity, and protects people's health. He also says it provides greater certainty for farmers, ranchers, and landowners. The Assistant Secretary of the Army Corps of Civil Works says the definition provides clarity long desired by farmers, industry, environmental groups, and other stakeholders. It also allows for more effective rule implementation, they say. Agriculture groups, though, not so keen on that, say wait for the Supreme Court and see what they rule when it comes to waters of the U.S. Well, Kansas Farm Bureau continuing in 2023 its recognition for sesquicentennial farms in conjunction with its annual Century Farm program. The Century Farm program honors Farm Bureau members who own farms of at least 80 acres within the same family for over 100 years or more. The sesquicentennial farm recognition goes to farms of the same family for at least 150 years. Now, the deadline for consideration to be part of the 2023 program is May 15th. Kansas Farm Bureau has recognized over 3,000 century farms and 88 sesquicentennial farms since its inception. Complete details to see if you qualify and applications for both programs can be obtained at your County Farm Bureau office or at the website kfb.org/Century Farms. And the Growing Climate Solution Act is now law. It was included in that massive year-end package that President Biden signed into law a few days back. The package also funds the government for the rest of fiscal year 23. The climate bill authorizes USDA to oversee registration of farm technical advisors and carbon credit verification services. Incoming House Committee Chair, Pennsylvania Congressman Glenn G.T. Thompson, insisted on some changes to the bill, but the chief Senate sponsor, Mike Braun of Indiana, said he was okay with those modifications. He said the changes didn't alter the essence of the bill, which uses the Farm Service Agency as a portal for farmers to be able to make some sense out of how small landowners would hook up with carbon offset markets. We'll have more coming up in just a moment. The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com.
Imagine turning soybean oil, used cooking oils, and waste animal fats into fuel so amazing it drives U.S. jobs and our economy forward. Learn more about biodiesel at americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
And joining us now is Anne Steckel, who is Senior Advisor for the National Farmers Union. Anne, great to see you.
Always great to see you. Thanks.
All right, so let's talk about the elections, kind of post-mortem. We at least pretty much know we're going to have a split Congress. What does that mean?
Well, I think that provides us a lot of opportunity. You know, we're going into a farm bill. It's going to take a big coalition to get a robust farm bill across the line, and I think that it's going to be very exciting. We're really looking forward to educating all of these new members of Congress about the priorities of the National Farmers Union, and so we're going to have to hit the ground running once the new Congress is sworn in.
So we know there's going to be a bunch of new members. Some of the new freshmen coming in on the House, very conservative, run on a very fiscally tight agenda. So there's a lot of discussion about what now happens with the Farm Bill. And there's a lot of different pieces. We can maybe break some of that down. But general overall, it looks like what we're hearing early on is the best thing might be to do is just to take this year of education moving forward. But some of these programs will need some tweaks, or we need different things that will work.
Yeah, again, we've got a big job ahead of us with all of this education with these new members. Certainly there are a lot of different parts of the Farm Bill that will resonate with every member of Congress and their constituents. So it's really all about finding what is the part of the Farm Bill that those constituents that they represent really care a lot about, and really dig in and educate them on those benefits. Of course, the ultimate question is in regard to funding, and that there's never enough for all of the great programs that we want to do. And so I think this year will require a lot of education, but it'll have to happen pretty quick.
So with COVID now, where we're in kind of that post-COVID mode, some of the things that came out of it were very popular, especially the Democrats, when it comes to a lot of school lunches, feeding programs, those food type programs. It looks like those will have to stay intact. But if the Congressional Budget Office, it does their scoring, all of a sudden we're way even beyond out of money. And I think the American folks are saying, okay, all this extra money that's in the economy is, maybe we need to scale back some, which could really make it a real big fight moving forward with these USDA programs.
Right. Well, certainly getting a farm bill across the finish line is always a big fight. And again, it's all about the money. What's really important to getting a farm bill is to developing good coalitions of people to build those stakeholder groups to get the number of votes that you need to count to get the bill passed. And so the onus is really going to be on the leadership in the House and the Senate to really look at their caucus and their members and put the bill together that best reflects their needs.
We're talking with Anne Steckel, who is a senior advisor for the National Farmers Union. We're going to take a break, talk more about renewable fuels and other things that the new Congress will be looking at. We'll do that in just a moment. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com. And our guest is Anne Steckel, who is a senior advisor for the National Farmers Union. And the other big thing that 2022, we finally saw movement of the renewable fuels standard, and now it looks like we're going to have maybe some more security of knowing where we are. I'm going to parlay that into a lot of the green type programs. Have we moved the ball enough to where there's going to be kind of a win-win for all different sides in this?
I sure hope so. EPA is set to finalize their volumes on November 30th for next year's requirements of the Renewable Fuels Standard. And so we hope that there's a reflection of those volumes that continue to grow in both ethanol, biodiesel, renewable diesel. Certainly that's a great outlet for our farmers and their feedstocks, but it's ultimately a win for consumers because they are getting a fuel that's at a better price than they're getting. And certainly the greenhouse gas emissions and reducing air toxics and things like that. So we're hoping that those volumes continue to grow in a robust manner.
Okay. So what about other situations? I mean, we've got these words now of sustainable is really part of the lexicon we're using all the time, regenerative. But farmers are saying, okay, fine, but I need to be paid or I want to be paid for it. So how and can we redefine all those to where, the environmental folks get what they want, traditional production agriculture and gets that buy-in and gets what they want, because we all know farmers are still doing the right thing. It may just be labeled a little bit differently. I think that's the concern in farm country, is to do something dramatic in what they're kind of already doing.
Right. Well, listen, depending on who you're speaking with, sustainable can mean one thing, renewable, regenerative can mean another, and so there's really not a baseline for everybody about what that means to them. And so for our farmers, we've always been at the forefront of doing the best thing for the land. These are family businesses that have been around for decades, and so we've always wanted to preserve the land. And so by the way we farm and the farming practices that we've been doing the right things. We're seeing a lot of different opportunities for farmers to get paid for doing those practices. We want to ensure that people get paid for doing the things that they've been doing, because those have already been beneficial to reducing carbon. And as we're moving forward, we want to ensure that whatever practices or policies that are set up are reflective of the good things that our farmers are doing to protect the land.
What else do you see coming out of this new Congress and things coming out of D.C. in 23?
Well, certainly the focus on carbon reduction has been evident with the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act and many of the tax incentives that were part of that. There's still that issue out there, and so we're going to continue to look for those sort of opportunities to do so. Transportation concerns always remain a top issue. There's such a myriad of things. I think it's going to be really interesting with a Republican-controlled House and a Democrat-controlled Senate and a Democrat administration, how they balance all of those priorities and get something across the finish line. And people are going to really need to work towards the center to get that done.
Immigration reform, is it dead now?
Well, that's a good question. I think that there is a lot of folks that want that to move forward, and I think we're going to continue to hear about it. Again, it's all about counting votes and getting something together that can pass both the House and the Senate, so that's always a challenge.
Very good. All right, Anne Steckel, Senior Advisor for the National Farmers Union, has joined us. We'll have more coming up in just a moment.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Imagine turning soybean oil, used cooking oils, and waste animal fats into fuel so amazing it drives U.S. jobs and our economy forward. Learn more about biodiesel at americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
We know that much of the success of the U.S. soybean industry comes from the soybean checkoff and state soybean boards who invest those dollars wisely. Checkoffs for other commodities are successful because of the boards who oversee them. All the farmers serving on those boards started somewhere, as leaders in their local communities. The Emerging Leaders Academy program of Kansas Soybean finds those community leaders and trains them to thrive in their leadership positions and take on larger roles. Many participants have represented Kansas through the Corteva Young Leader Program and served on the Kansas Soybean Association board. The program comprises 3 phases of professional development designed to provide participants with leadership skills and mentoring opportunities. Each phase builds on the last, from an informational session to an industry tour to a self-determined development phase. Since its first class in 2014, ELA has grown to 7 classes and 50 participants. December 9th through 10th, many of those leaders reunited in Manhattan for the inaugural winter gathering. The event entailed both fun and business. Following an evening of socializing, participants gathered to learn about the 5-year Kansas Soybean Strategic Plan and the Kansas State University College of Agriculture Innovation Center plans. The event concluded with media interview best practices. Does ELA sound like a good fit for you or someone you know? Interest forms are always available on the Kansas Soybean website at www.kansassoybeans.org/ELA.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, The soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the soybean checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Animal agriculture is a significant part of the Kansas economy, so animal health is of critical importance not only to the agriculture industry, but to the whole state. That's why protecting animal health is part of the mission of the Kansas Department of Agriculture, and we make it a priority with our focus on foreign animal disease planning, training, and exercising. In December, KDA led a 3-day functional exercise, named Genesis, to practice the state's agriculture emergency response plan by playing out an animal disease scenario. In the event of an agriculture incident, the emergency response is led by the Kansas Department of Agriculture, and our incident management team develops policies and operational plans to manage the disease response and to provide factual, transparent public information and education to the industry and the public, including a phone bank to receive calls from citizens who would be affected by an incident. More than 150 players and observers participated in the exercise, representing agriculture organizations, private industry, federal, state, and local public agencies, and even animal health agencies from Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Texas. Responding to a foreign animal disease will require cooperation among all of these entities in order to stop the spread of the disease and enable the industry to get back to business as quickly as possible. This year's exercise looked at the early stages of a multi-species disease outbreak, including the activation of the incident management team and notification of affected parties. These annual exercises have been instrumental in expanding the state's response plan and honing details based on new challenges and experiences each year. This continual improvement of the animal disease response plan supports the investment Kansas has made in sustaining their rigorous practice via the full-scale exercise, and we will continue those efforts to protect animal agriculture in Kansas.
Sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
I grow food-grade sorghum for all kinds of special uses, mainly for human consumption. So it's very important for me to be as sustainable as I possibly can and have the best grain I possibly can.
When people start talking about sustainability, that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. To us, that means using the least amount of pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides that we can, using fertilizer as needed in the smallest amounts possible to grow the crops we want to grow. The food that we produce and the grain we produce, it goes a long ways and touches a lot of different people. So the better we can do that with the less impact on the environment, it's really better for everyone.
The big thing now is kind of the sustainability aspect of agriculture, but it's not a cookie cutter thing, because what I do, you go 20 miles from here and it's not going to work the same it's going to work here. The soil types are different, topography's different, even the climate's different enough. It's something you've just kind of got to have a general framework, develop and work towards the specifics for your particular operation.
So western Kansas, we sit on top of a large area of water, like a lake, a pool, deep down in the ground. And for generations and years, we've depended on that to water the crops with irrigation or sprinkler systems to make those crops that needed water flourish. However, over time, that has continued to go down. So we're having to think outside the box. How do we work without that water system? Sorghum's root system works really well in that, as well as being able to produce a crop even when we don't have the moisture we desperately need.
We want to leave this farm better than when we got here. It's important to us, and sorghum's a big part of that. It really helps us with winter and water erosion over the winter with the root structure it has, provides a lot of residue, also controls evaporation during the summer, and that the residue is really beneficial for the next crop.
If we couldn't be sustainable, we wouldn't be farmers today. So for us, sustainability is just really second nature. We are going to give the land the best that we can because we want the very best off of it. It's also the sustainability of our livelihood, of generational farming, the ones that have done it for years and know the best way to produce the best crops.
If I were to not have sorghum in my rotation, it would definitely flatten my production, my sustainability. Everything would just be flattened out. And sorghum, as well as it grows in western Kansas, I can't imagine taking it out of my rotation.
Sorghum literally checks all the boxes. If you want to be sustainable, it works there. If you want to grow in a dry climate, it works there. If you want to grow in a not so dry climate, it works there. So it's so versatile, and especially where it can put back in, we're trying to figure out how to cut back on inputs, and sorghum itself inputs into the ground where other crops just take from. For us and our rotation and many others, sorghum is the resource conserving crop.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
The Kansas Farm Bureau Excellence in Agriculture Award Program recognizes young farmers and ranchers who actively contribute and grow through their involvement in Farm Bureau and agriculture. Erica Schlender from Harvey County will represent Kansas at the American Farm Bureau Federation Annual Convention in January. Erica was raised on a multi-generational family farm of 320 acres where her family grows wheat, soybeans, and corn. Erica is an agronomist in the Watershed program through her local extension office and part owner of her family's crop consulting company. Erica is heavily involved in her county farm bureau, where she previously served as the YF&R chair. She currently serves on KFB's Women's Leadership Committee and is a Leadership KFB graduate. Outside of the farm, she enjoys giving back to her community by volunteering with Girl Scouts and a local youth group.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Registered dietitians are the most frequently consulted health professionals for healthy eating information, with 77% of global consumers declaring their advice impacts which foods they buy. With this in mind, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association regularly works to build relationships with these professionals through engagement at conferences and events. In October 2022, NCBA partnered with Produce for Better Health to host a #BetterTogether reception during the Food and Nutrition Conference and Expo in Florida. The networking event attracted more than 80 health professionals who gathered to collaborate on ways to pair beef and produce to optimize health and nutrition. As a result, new connections with nutrition influencers and thought leaders were developed. To continue that momentum, NCBA hosted a 3-day nutrition influencer meetup in Denver to build relationships with 15 leading registered dietitians and provide educational sessions. Through a Beef Nutrition 101 presentation, a hands-on culinary education workshop, social media masterclass, and beef industry panel, attendees learned about multiple aspects of the beef community and beef nutrition. Altogether, the attendees had a collective social media reach of more than 1.2 million. In addition to providing information about beef's role in a healthy lifestyle to health professionals, the checkoff-funded nutrition seminar program provides an opportunity to collaborate with state beef councils to place credentialed speakers at health professional conferences. Currently, 22 experts are scheduled to speak in 2023.
Imagine turning soybean oil, used cooking oils, and waste animal fats into fuel so amazing it drives U.S. jobs and our economy forward. Learn more about biodiesel at americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
Good day. I'm Derek Hermish with Pinion, a division of KCO ISOM. Volatile grain markets are the new normal, it seems. The good thing about true volatility is that it creates much more opportunity than flat markets. However, your opportunity to experience regret is much greater as well. For example, say you sell your soybeans on a 50-cent rally only to watch it go up another $1 the next week after you sell. Can you be happy about selling into the initial rally, or are you going to focus on what you missed out on? Regret should be the least of your concerns when it comes to marketing, but it can rear its ugly head in these environments and negatively affect decisions down the road. Selling your grain at profitable levels is the key. That's what you're always told, but it's never that simple. It is true that you will not go broke selling for a profit, but you're not in the business of making widgets for $1 and selling them for $2. Volatile markets provide opportunity, but they also provide opportunity cost. If you make a decision that nets you 50 cents less on average for your grain than your fellow neighboring farmers, nobody is going to offer you a discount on fertilizer or seed or equipment repairs to help you make up for it. Quite the opposite, as we've seen recently with inputs going higher. There are options, literally, that can be very useful in volatile markets. Yes, I am referring to puts and calls. I know there are many of you out there that are not fans of options. I talk to you quite frequently, and sometimes I agree with you. But in my experience, this is the environment to utilize them. If you'd like to visit with us about it, give us a call at 888-452-8751. I'm Derek Hermish. Have a good day.
That's our show this week. Be social with us online, kansasagreport.net, or our social media channels. You can also catch us every day all over the state of Kansas via the Ag Network with ag news and market information. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching. See you next week.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.